All right, we are live, everybody. Come on in. One and all, great to have you. Hey, Mike C. Yeah, you are first, my friend. Old man Jenkins, you're second. JMU Duke 99. Good to see you too, sir. Great to see you guys. Oh, welcome on. Come on in, guys. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Let me know the sound is okay, that you're able to hear me all right. E pluribus bigly. Great to see you guys. Hi, everyone. Big Tim. Awesome, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Great to see you guys. David Boyd. Hola. Great to see you guys. Awesome. Arnett. David Lee Love from Iowa. All right. What's up there, Doc? What's up, Doc? Great to see you guys. Hey, did you see that speech? It was awesome. We're going to chat about it. I want to give some analysis of the speech. We'll probably talk about it again tomorrow in tomorrow's video as well. But boy, was that awesome. Man, Donald J. Trump, DJT, he has not lost a step at all. He is ready to rock and roll, and he's ready to take the GOP in a fully MAGA direction for the foreseeable future. How would you like to be? How would you like to be Cheney tonight? I mean, how would you like to be Ben Sass tonight or Mittens Romney after that? I mean, CPAC is the heart and soul of the energy of the Republican Party. And Liz Cheney and Ben Sassy Pants and Mittens Romney basically got excommunicated tonight. I don't know if there's any possibility of them having a future in the Republican Party from this point forward, largely because it's not the Republican Party anymore, and Trump made that clear. It is the new Patriot Party. The Patriot Party has basically moved in and taken over the GOP. It's really fascinating stuff. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. So come on in, one and all. Great to see you. What do we got here? 1,200 already. Hey, guys. Great to see everyone here. Before we get started, we're going to take this conversation off YouTube like we do every live stream, and we're going to pick it up again at my exclusive online Q&A tomorrow night, March 1st. It's March already. Oh, man. Cannot wait for spring. So we're going to pick this up tomorrow night, March 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You are all invited to our exclusive online Q&A where you have direct access to me to ask whatever questions you like. We have a great conversation. It goes for about 90 minutes. Hey, Zach, today's military because Secretary of Defense is an extremist. Any advice? Yeah, Zach, gee. This is stuff we can be talking about tomorrow night. That's a great question. If you guys see it in the live stream, Zach's in the military, scared to death because now he's being called an extremist. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. It sounds to me you're going to have to play it safe and lay low for the next few years with this current administration, this current chief executive who's, or just the deep state, the swamp, the deep state in general in the military. I think the biggest regret that I have with what Trump did not do is he did not clean house enough with the swamp in a way that is, particularly in the military, in a way that he could have. Sandiford, Romney thought he would be the hero. It's so true. Romney, just because Romney's world is CNN. That's why Romney sees the world in the same way the New York Times does. He just happens to be, quote, on the right of that. He's a right-leaning liberal, for lack of better terms. So, but getting back to that military issue, I do wish Trump had cleaned house more. He thought he could make nuts with the swamp and basically renovate it. He thought he could renovate the swamp rather than drain it. And obviously it turned out on November 3rd, no, you can't. You cannot. You can never, ever, ever placate the swamp. It must be eradicated. So we're going to have to wait till then. Hey, Eagles wings. Thank you so much. Trump, he did. He rocked the nation there. It was awesome. Let's talk about it. But let me just finish. Let me finish my pitch here to get you over at our Q&A, our live Q&A tomorrow night. This is exactly what we'll be doing, is we'll be chatting with each other. And you can have direct access to me as well as our special guests. We have some amazing guests over the last few weeks. We had Andy No talking about Antifa. We had David Horowitz. We had Daniel Miller, the Texas Nationalist Movement. So we like to think of our Insiders Club as your backstage pass to the movers and shakers of worldwide conservatism. And so make sure to click on the link below to sign up. You have to join the Insiders Club in order to be part of this exclusive Q&A. And to make it sweet for you, we're going to give you your first week absolutely free, no obligation. Of course, we'd love for you to stay, but that's your choice. We just want you to be there for the Q&A tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. All right. So all you got to do is click on that link, sign up. I'll see you tomorrow night. We'll be able to chat one-on-one on there. Okay. All right. So let's dive into this a bit. Here's how Trump began his speech. Did you catch it? Do you miss me yet? It was his first words. Do you miss me yet? It was awesome. And of course, he got thunderous applause. I don't know if you know that when he gave this very much anticipated speech tonight at CPAC in Orlando, there were several pundits writing about it, trying to forecast what he was going to say. He gave the speech just after the results of the CPAC straw poll for president was released, and 55% of respondents, a clear majority, said they would vote for Trump easily in a hypothetical 2024 primary. So that's a landslide. The closest second place was Ron DeSantis with 21%, and then another 4% for South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. So DeSantis actually, another big story here is that if Trump were not to run, DeSantis actually runs away with it with 43% support. So right now it's Trump by a landslide, followed next with DeSantis, who's definitely the major leader right now outside of Trump, and Kristi Noem. Nearly 70% of the poll's participants said that they would like to see Trump run for president in 2024, compared with only 15% who said that they would rather just go with somebody new. 17% said they were not quite sure. But here to me is the most significant number, and this is what his speech really in the end was all about. 95% of CPAC attendees said they want the Republican Party to continue with Trump's agenda and policies. 95% of those Republicans said they want the Republican Party to be the Trump party for the foreseeable future. Only 3% said the GOP should change direction, right? 2% said they didn't know. I'm assuming thank you, Deborah. Thank you. Well, thank you. That's so cute. So yeah, only 3% said, nah, let's change course. I'm assuming that's our contrarian libertarians. I'm assuming. I certainly don't see anyone advocating going the way of the rhino. I didn't see any neocon presence at the CPAC conference, not majorly at least, which is astonishing because really it was just over 10 years ago when people like Dick Cheney were still the dominant force in CPAC. We had a class from our classical school go down to D.C. I don't know what year it was, maybe 2007, and to go and check out CPAC, which was really neat. Their history teacher took them, and they couldn't get into the session with Dick Cheney. The room was too filled up. Could you imagine that happening today? Imagine if he was speaking in a room, it'd be like two people, Liz and Mitt. Maybe those are your two people there. But anyway, so it's pretty clear the GOP wants nothing to do with the neocon rhinos, and they have officially changed into a nationalist, populist, and traditionalist party. They are the Trump party. And that's basically his speech. Trump's speech was a speech that absolutely left no doubt that this party is his party. He is the emperor and he is the kingmaker. Now, whether or not he decides to run again, we'll see. I mean, he dropped a couple of hints, right? But this was Trump's first formal appearance, public appearance for speech since January 6th, and he wasted absolutely no time making it clear he is the emperor, he is the kingmaker, the Republican Party, he is its center, he is its core. And basically people like Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney found out today they don't have a party anymore. They no longer belong to the Republican Party. They may still have an R by their name, but no one inside the party in terms of its grassroots energy, and so no one considers them now a bona fide member. They were effectively excommunicated as of today. Trump made it clear that he is not starting a third party, and he made it clear as to why. And I know a lot of you are disappointed about that. We've talked about that right after January 6th. One of our first videos was entitled, "Is it time to start a third party?" And we got into this dynamic known as de-alignment that's going on all over the world, where traditional fidelities, traditional identities with the traditional mainstream left, mainstream right parties have just imploded. They've died. That we have studies that show that 50% of Brits in the 1960s strongly identified either as a Tory or a Labour member. Today, it's less than 10%. Less than 10% of Brits strongly identify with the traditional parties. That's why Nigel Farage was able to start the Brexit Party. So we really talked about, this is the time. This is the time for Trump to grab the bull by the horns and say, let's go for it. Let's make because of this de-alignment dynamic going on throughout the world, let's make a third party that's going to destroy the Republican Party, bring over a bunch of Democrats, and become a new dominant force. It sounds to me like he's saying no. Well, it's not sounds to me. I mean, blatantly said, explicitly said it, that we already have the Republican Party. We don't need to start a third party. And again, we talked about this in last week's video. As I listened to Trump's speech, again, it just confirmed for me that the whole question we put forward several weeks back, is it time to start a third party, right? Or should we just instead primary the rhinos out of office in the GOP? I'm realizing that that was a false dichotomy. That's the way Trump is seeing it. He's seeing that as a false dichotomy. Trump is turning the GOP into the Patriot Party, into the Trump Party. The GOP under Trump's leadership is the Patriot Party. Or better, it's slowly but surely becoming the Patriot Party. And he named names in the speech big time, right? He talked about Cheney, talked about Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Mitt Romney and all. He named names. We'll name them in my notes here. And he just said, primary him, get rid of him. Just absolutely get rid. They have no place in a party of nationalism, populism, and traditionalism that is trying to save our republic and our civilization from these left-wing fascistic tyrants. So as Trump puts it, MAGA is a movement. MAGA was not a campaign. MAGA was and is a massive movement. It's a movement, as you guys know, that is worldwide. So we always have in our comments, if I do a video on Poland, I get make Poland great again. And if I do something on Hungary, make Hungary great again. If I do something on Brazil, make Brazil great again. If I do something on India, make India great again. What so many pundits don't get when they're so fixated on white supremacism and all this sort of stuff, they don't understand. MAGA is on the negative side, a radically anti-globalist backlash. And on the positive side, it is a radically nationalist, populist, and traditionalist movement. It is not, as it has actually very little to do with America per se. And it's all about, in effect, making the nation state the political object again, making the nation state the central theme of politics in global international relations. And they no longer want these abstract systems, these standardized one-size-fits-all protocols that are shoved down the throat of populations by political and economic oligarchs. They don't want that. And this is a massive backlash, making America great again, making India great again, making Brazil great again, making Poland great again. In other words, reestablishing and reasserting the national sovereignty of each nation and reclaiming its economy as a part of its culture rather than that which dictates to culture, and then once again celebrating culture, custom, and tradition rather than denigrating it through this absurd, politically correct wokeism, right? So that's in effect, he said, is here to stay. This movement, this MAGA movement, is one that has won, and it will win again. In fact, I don't know if you heard, he said, well, maybe I'm just going to have to run. I'm going to have to beat the Democrats a third time, right? Which is a clear reference to both 2020 and 2024. The crowd went wild. So he ripped Biden apart throughout the speech, and he clearly set the difference between a globalist Obama-era agenda that Biden is simply reconstituting and the new nationalism, the new populism, the new traditionalism. It's the politics of the 21st century. So he ripped Biden apart mercilessly with the whole where he is abdicating his law enforcement roles at the border, right? So border security was a huge one. That was his first opening salvo. Biden has, he's brought back catch and release. His reckless statements have caused thousands of people from Latin America to once again amass at the border. The cages are back, right? But now they're simply detention center, holding center, whatever they call them. Probably, I don't know, cruise compartment conditions, whatever it is. And then here's what I got some quotes from the speech. It took the new administration only a few weeks to turn this unprecedented accomplishment at the border into a self-inflicted humanitarian and national security disaster by recklessly eliminating our border security measures, controls, all the things we put into place. Joe Biden's triggered a massive flood of illegal immigration into our country like we've never seen before. Here's one of his best lines. You ready for this? Your family can still not go out to eat at local restaurants, but Joe Biden is bringing thousands upon thousands of refugees from all over the world, people who no one knows anything about. You're not allowed to go in an effing restaurant, but all these migrants, all these so-called refugees who we don't even know, we haven't even vetted, they could just flood right into our nation. So it's a really awesome contrast here to show you that it's an America last agenda versus an America first agenda. So I think that was one of his best lines. It was a very substantive line and a very memorable line. And that should be, as he pointed out, that should be reason alone. We don't even need to go any further than this. Just him abdicating his executive law enforcement responsibilities at the border. That alone should be reason for the Democrats to lose Congress in 2022, which it looks more and more like they are, and the White House in 2024. Keep in mind, we're looking at some pretty impressive election reform going on in 5 or 6 of the contested states on November 3rd, particularly Georgia, which is very interesting. So he slammed Biden on border security, which is the key motif of the new nationalism. And then he slammed him on his economic policies, which is the key motif of the new populism. So he took on Biden's America Last economic policies, the canceling of the Keystone Pipeline, right, to just shot up unemployment. And you've noticed our gas prices have been going up as a result. He knocked him for shipping our manufacturing jobs back overseas. He knocked him going weak need on China, basically allowing them to do whatever they wanted with their Belt and Road Initiative. Heck, the United States will help them at this point. He ripped Biden on how he sold out our school children to the teachers' unions, refusing to open up our schools. And he took on culture and our traditions by pointing out how insane Biden's transgender policies are with regard to women's sports. So Trump pointed out, there's a lot of new records that are being broken by biological males in women's sports as we speak. It's absolutely and utterly ridiculous. He took on the big tech oligarchs as well. So remember, what we're seeing now is a bit of we're seeing a triumvirate here, right? We're seeing a sinister triangle of Democrats and deep state establishment uniting together with the media, with the mainstream media. And then together they bring pressure, not so much, but they are supported by these, corporatist oligarchs who are basically shoving political correctness down our throat and erasing the right to dissent. And that triumvirate obviously is going to require that we take on all three. We can't just take on the swamp. That was the big thing. We can't just take on the media, but the huge thing that developed out of the 2016 campaign is we have to take on big tech. And so he did. He took on the big tech oligarchs. The time has come, he said. Let me get it here. I've got up my notes. Quote, "The time has come to break up big tech monopolies and restore fair competition. Republicans and conservatives must open our platforms and repeal Section 230 liability protections. And if the federal government refuses to act, then every state in the union where we have the votes," and he said there's lots of them, are red states, big tech giants like Google and Facebook must be punished with sanctions whenever they silence conservative voices. So this is something we've been talking a lot about on our videos over the last few weeks, because there's been a massive amount of movement going on here. It's very, very exciting. And it's not just here in the United States, it's international. It's going on in Hungary, in Poland, in Russia, in India. Very, very fascinating stuff. But it's happening here at the state level, what we're calling the development of sanctuary states that are, in effect, administrative and legal walls that are being set up by red states, conservative states, to protect us from the insane swampiness of Washington, D.C. And Rick DeSantis, of course, of Florida has been doing it. Paxton of the Attorney General in Texas have been doing it. North Dakota, their legislature just passed a law considering a bill. I think they'll pass it, giving people, their citizens, a right to sue Facebook and Google for damage if they've been unfairly deplatformed. All these states are starting to push back and say, you deplatform people for any other reason other than breaking an actual state law, you're done. You're done. We're going to start fining you big time. This is exactly what Poland is doing. And they're fining them around $10 million per infraction. And they're actually setting up a court to deal with solely big tech complaints and issues of being deplatformed and silenced and censored when you didn't break any Polish law. It's really fascinating stuff. So it's a way of reestablishing sovereignty, national sovereignty over and against the standards of these big tech oligarchs and the sort of Silicon Valley political correctness. So it's really neat. So Trump kept that going very strong. And then at some point, he came out and made it clear, look, the biggest difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, is not just policy. The biggest difference is Democrats stick together and Republicans get wobbly, and we need spines of steel. And this is what he said. Again, I quote from the speech: "We cannot have leaders who show more passion for condemning their fellow Americans than they ever have for standing up to Democrats." Hello, Mitt Romney. Hello, Ben Sass. The media and the radicals who stand up to the Democrats, the media, and the radicals who want to turn America into a socialist country. So in other words, the thing that I've never understood with Mitt Romney and Ben Sasse and Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Liz Cheney is they cannot seem to grasp the fact that no matter how bad you may think Trump is, Pelosi is infinitely worse. Schumer is infinitely worse. They are infinitely graver threats to our nation than Trump. Because in the end, they end up saying is just Trump's a jerk. I mean, that's really what they end up saying, is they just end up saying he's a jerk. And they don't like him. And they can't stand him and that sort of stuff. So I think Trump said it brilliantly here. He said, Democrats stick together because they see Republicans as fundamentally evil. And there's nothing a Democrat can do that can compare with the odiousness of what MAGA, stained Republicans are trying to do. And Trump is saying, oh, that we had a spine like that. Oh, that we recognize that there's nothing Republicans could be doing that could even compare with the vile wretchedness that's coming from the Democratic Party. So he came on out and he said, here's the names. Senators Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, you call him Little Ben Sasse, if I recall, Richard Burr, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Pat Toomey. Richard Burr and Pat Toomey are out, by the way. They're retiring, so they mean nothing. They've thrown their political careers into the, well, it's always been in the junkyard. But and then in the House represents Tom Rice, Adam Kinzinger, Anthony Gonzalez, Fred Upton, Peter Mayer, John Katko, and that warmonger, as he called her, Liz Cheney. And he said it unreservedly, get rid of them all. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. He made it clear that the Republican Party is an absolutely united party, for the exception of these establishment rhinos that have more in common with Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon than they do with Donald Trump. Right? That's the key. They do not belong in a Republican Party that actually represents a fundamentally different world, a nationalist, populist, traditionalist world over and against the oligarchical globalist world of the Democrats and establishment Republicans. So these are the rhinos that are representing the disunity in the party. It's not the grassroots. And he's right. All the energy, all the momentum of the party right now is in the MAGA movement. It's with us. It's not with the Ben Sassy Pants. It's not with the Mittens Romney. That's for sure. It's not with the Liz Cheneys, right? Who's got 10% approval rating in Wyoming. It's with Donald Trump and the deplorables. And we have to understand that the disunity is found in these establishment rhino Republicans who have more in common with Democrats than they do with the deplorables. We are the future of the Republican Party, the nationalist, populist, traditionalist future, which is the politics of the 21st century. So there you go, gang. That's just my initial assessment. We'll probably do a little more on tomorrow's video as well. It was an awesome speech. Trump is clearly in the driver's seat of the Republican Party, and it is going to be fascinating and very exciting to see what he has in store for the upcoming 2022 midterms and beyond, especially keep in mind, especially with all of the electoral reforms that are going on in those contested states. It's really, really quite exciting. All right, gang. Remember, you are invited to our exclusive live Q&A tomorrow night, March 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we could be talking about these things, but directly. I'll be there to answer your questions. We're going to get into things much, much deeper there. It is our censorship-free platform, and these live Q&As are exclusive for our Insiders Club members. You can join simply by clicking on the link below, and for a limited time, you're going to get your first week absolutely free. So you can join us tomorrow night with no obligation to get. We'd love for you to stay as a member. Of course, you'll be networking with conservatives all over the world, thousands of conservatives, in a way where you're absolutely safe from any kind of censorship or anything. So our own sort of platform that we put together, I should say sort of, Our Insiders Club is our own platform where you get a backstage pass to be able to have direct access to the movers and shakers of the worldwide conservative movement. So make sure you click on that link below and become an Insiders Club member. Get your first week absolutely free. And I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a live Q&A. Looking forward to it, gang. God bless. Take care.